Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ImmPact Litigation YouTube live update. I am Chuck Cook, and that is the quite guapo Aaron Hall, and really the very thin Greg Siskin. He's lost an entire Greg Siskin almost. Looking good, looking good. Aaron, you're looking great. Having still got that Peru glow about you.
And wearing off quick.
I will not be here the next 2 Mondays, so it's up to you guys. I'm actually going to be on vacation myself.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Oahu.
Nice.
I'm going to spend 8 days on Oahu, and so I'm not going to
do the pineapple ranch.
Oh, the pineapple plantation. Absolutely, the PCC, the Polynesian Cultural Center.
Yeah,
it's that island's like half Latter-day Saints, so it's for us it's good to go there. It's just we're going to be staying at Turtle Bay, and my golf clubs will be happy. I haven't taken a real vacation like a week since before the pandemic, so I'm kind of excited. No work involved at all. So let's talk first about the H1B abuse case, and let me put that up here because I don't want people to say the H1B abuse case. The government and us have agreed upon a filing schedule for summary judgment, with the filings being done by February 7th, and then asking the judge for a hearing after that. We'll have the joint appendix in by the 14th. Hopefully, have a hearing and have a decision. Obviously, we told the judge we'd like a hearing by the 15th, from March 1st. But this week or last weekend, Friday night, an organization called IT Serve Alliance, which represents the job shop industry, introduced a motion to intervene in our case. And I'll be honest with you, Aaron, I haven't spent a lot of time on it yet, because I want to look at it in the context of our draft response. Motions to intervene are rare. They are rarely permitted. And this one, I think, will fail. They have no interest in here. It is a challenge of the statute. And whatever position they have is adequately represented by the government, who is opposing our motion. So I don't see it as a valid basis to intervene. What it is a gigantic waste of money and time. Is what it is. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know, but it has no basis in any sense of reality that I can see. But our brief was great. I don't know, Aaron, what did you think? You read it multiple times. I thought it was great.
I thought it was really strong. And we actually filed that, if my memory is not wrong, the same day we got the motion to intervene. And so our focus was on getting our brief in. But we will be responding to the motion to intervene, and I felt really good about the motion for summary judgment.
Greg, you read it as well. I know it made a lot of really great substantive comments. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I think that the administrative record that we got was enlightening in a lot of respects. That our theory and what we've been arguing about is something that the government, we learned through this, was warned pretty extensively was going to happen, what exactly has happened. So that was good to see as well.
My favorite warning was from their sister agency, the Small Business Administration, who told them exactly that this problem was exactly going to happen. I just thought that was prescient. And they just, what shocks me about this, really, this regulation is a Trump era regulation. Trump did this. This is from Trump. They hate the H1B program. These Trumpies all hated the H1B program. And yet they let in one provision. They kept out a provision that would clearly have addressed fraud directly head on. That's what, for the life of me, I can't understand. Is the alliance of people that want this in so strong that they overcome the Trumpies? To me, it's bizarre.
Yeah,
it's a bizarre position. And also to reiterate, the judge can, if we are successful, and we hope we will be, we believe we will be, the judge has a couple options. He can set aside the regulation. It's illegal. Done. And that means we would go back to prior regulatory processing, which was preparation of applications. I mean, you'd prepare an application and send it in, and they would have a lottery of that. And that lottery, is illegal from the Macy case, right? That's perfectly fine to do that. But he could also order them to make a revision to the lottery to deal with this issue. The government has the capability in emergency rulemaking to make a change in 30 days. They can do that, and they can make it effective immediately. They have done that. And so they could say, you know what, for this lottery emergency rule, one sentence change, no more than one application per applicant.
What do you think the odds are that they are actively preparing for a loss, or they're just basically kind of ignoring the whole thing?
My expectation is the Immigration Service is so poorly run and so incredibly managed that they haven't even given a thought to drafting the optional lose in this situation.
Yeah,
is what I think.
I think that's right.
I think that's where we're at. So we also Waleed's also thinking about a motion for recusal, by the way, of the lawyers on the IT cert filing, and we'll deal with that if we decide to file that case. That's something we're absolutely considering. So, Greg, I do want to talk about Aaron talk about the H1B EB delay litigation because Aaron's working on that directly, and the government's motion to dismiss. Not a surprise, but their big surprise was
motion to transfer venue.
You know what they promised people they wouldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, so they the motion to dismiss, to me, it didn't have anything that like Chuck said that was surprising at all. It's kind of the same arguments that we see in any case that's mandamus. What did surprise me was that they didn't spend a lot of time addressing our arguments about the regulation and the comments when they implemented the regulation. And so I don't know why they just ignored all of that, but they did. And then the motion to transfer venue was really interesting because they actually cited a couple of times to Chakrabarty. And in doing that, they seem to indicate at some point that maybe Maryland would be a more proper venue for this, which, just made my jaw more.
A chutzpah.
Yeah. So that's going to be very fun to respond to, actually.
Oh, I think one of the exhibits is Judge Missett's decision in from Maryland about why venue is inappropriate there for anything ever.
And then in the motion to transfer, they hardly even acknowledge that it's a class action, and so that obviously weighs heavily against wanting to split these cases all over the country. So after reading it, I'm really excited to respond. that's how I'll say it.
And get our class certification motion in. So that's good. So there we are on that one. That's a good case. We're kind of excited about that. Let's just briefly talk about the K's. K Rio, which is the Penn case. We filed a notice of dismissal of a number of plaintiffs, not a lot, but a number. But I also included in the notice of dismissal, there's a very, very fine line that you have to walk when a case has been pending for a long time. I don't know if one of our plaintiffs, somebody sent me an email that said, I've read about this motion to expedite cases or something. And the stuff he sent me is like the worst idea in the world you could possibly do is file something like that. So I just noted that although these plaintiffs were dismissed, X number of plaintiffs remain waiting patiently for the adjudication of their case, on average more than a year's worth of time and some exceeding 18 months. So that's filed with the judge, and we haven't heard it back from that. The Manila case, however, we did the exact same thing in the Manila case with Judge Cooper. And Judge Cooper already has dismissed the people. Boom. I mean, that he's already issued an order dismissing the people we know that we dismissed, but nothing else. But he was quick on that one.
Yeah. By the way, I think it was just limited to Manila, but there was some Facebook panicking going on because people thought that they were dismissed because they saw in Pacer their names in the headers, and I think we've corrected it. I mean, well, we've corrected that misinterpretation to people that have reached out to us. But if you are here and you think that you're worried that you might have been accidentally dismissed, you were not on there. It's just that's the way that this document is structured, where all the plaintiffs have to be listed. And then in the document itself is the list of the ones that are being dismissed. So you were not accidentally dismissed. Don't worry.
And we are sending an email out to each of the groups, Rio, Moscow, London, Manila, with details about that process. Same with Moscow. Judge Mehta requested, he specifically requested how many people are left. We only had 3 plaintiffs left in the Ponomarenko Moscow case. And they're all trying to get appointments in Warsaw. And I made that point in our status update. Government never filed anything. Government never filed it. I guess they thought they weren't asked, so it was just us.
I mean, we've talked about it before about how these judges are busy with the January 6 cases, but Judge Mehta has like perhaps the most important of all, which is the police officers' families, the officers who died, are suing Trump personally. And Judge Mehta has that case. It was national news yesterday.
Yes.
On there. And I mean, the guy is a good juggler, I guess, that he can keep all this stuff going. But it seems to me that would become all consuming. So I'm hoping that doesn't slow our cases down. Although obviously we have different views as far as like what's going to happen on that case. But do you think the cases that Mehta is on are going to be impacted by this?
He's had this case a while. They just had oral argument yesterday. And he's got his Mo Brooks case. He's got all those big time cases, and he knows I think he senses history. Mm-hmm. He's very much on the cutting edge of law at this point. What is the scope of presidential immunity? I mean, It's hyper cutting edge stuff. And one thing he showed us, though, is he's not afraid to be cutting edge in the DV cases. I mean, he took a leap in the DV cases for us in reserving visas. And so I hope he does the right thing on those cases. When I was reading a lot of what occurred back and forth, I was just thinking, that's Judge Mehta. That's the Judge Mehta I know.
Well, why don't we flip to the DV cases?
Well, before we get there, London, the same thing, filed the same thing, same information, same thing. By the way, in the Manila case, I did note that we have several plaintiffs that are more than 2 years. And I think there's actually probably longer than that, a couple of you folks, 2 years waiting for an adjudication of their visa. So I'll put that out there. All right, let's go to the DV 2022 case, because there's no update on the other DV cases.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, though, I mean, people are asking, I mean, those cases are, they're trying to appeal. And also we're trying to figure out what the judge is going to order as far as whether they're going to have to start adjudicating anytime soon on those. Is there anything to say on Go or Gomez as far as when Judge Mehta would require them to actually start doing something on his order?
They only have, they can be in compliance with his order issuing all of the reserved visas in September if they wanted to.
On September 30th.
Yeah. So there's nothing he's going to do to force them to start before then. If it got to the point where it's clear that they can't comply with the order, then we could go to him and say, it's obvious that they're not acting in good faith to comply with the order, but it would have to be, it's now impossible for them to do it by your deadline. As far as updates on the appeal, nothing. It appears that the government attorneys are still waiting for confirmation whether they are permitted to go ahead with this appeal. And we don't have any news on that.
Okay.
What we do have news of is that 2 major people have left the Biden administration, his 2 major brains on immigration. So, that kind of sucks for everybody as well. But so both on the Go and the Gomez case, we have no news. It's quite clear that they will not issue any of these visas before May. They have said it's going to take us to April to fix the IT, whatever magical IT problems they have. And so there will be don't make any plans.
And we still don't have the word from what the administration, the Solicitor General, is going to be doing on these cases.
No, and they said they would have that by the end of January, but they do have a status report that's due shortly.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact date. So, all right, let's talk about the DV 2022.
Yeah. So we have started onboarding if you go to ImmPactLitigation.com, you'll see that there. We've consolidated. We're taking advantage of our website. We've consolidated everything as far as onboarding that's the central point to start. Chuck, I don't know if you want to put up the web address.
I'm going to put that up right now.
But if you go there, you will see that we have started earlier than we have in the past. Largely because we've learned from these previous cases that the court expects us to start these cases sooner. It's sort of a fine point that you get where you don't want to go so early that you can't document if there's really a problem already, and at the same time you don't want to start so late that the judge punishes you for not acting early. We do know that as of the first quarter of the fiscal year, something like 1% of DV visas had been issued, as opposed to the 25% that you would expect at this point. And they start, it's not like it takes a while for them to get going. They start these cases a couple of months before the fiscal year starts is when they announce the results and people start filing. So historically, each fiscal quarter, you should see about a quarter of the visas being issued on there. So this is not normal. And we have, so anyway, we started onboarding. We're going to be arguing a lot of the same legal theories that we used in Go and Gomez. And if you're interested in joining, go to that. Chuck and I were just talking before we started here that we will announce in the next day or so that we're going to do an in-depth video explaining to people that are interested in the case how it works, what to expect, explain to them about litigation. I mean, we kind of forget that the DV 2022 folks are all new to this, and the DV 2020 and DV 2021 folks are all veterans basically, and they're all basically amateur litigators at this point. But the DV 2022 folks, a lot of you may not know what this is all about. So we'll set up a time and explain that and push it out on social media.
And in that video, we'll talk more about the legal arguments and whatnot. And in a couple lines, though, I'll sum it up here. So just for example, in Go, our last DV case, the two arguments were that they were illegally using 212F for a no visa policy, and that they, even after that, they illegally deprioritized DV visas as compared to other immigrant visas. Now there is no more 212F issue, and they have purportedly taken away the tiered priorities. They have a notice out saying that they're gone, but the statistics show they're still being relegated to an afterthought. Yeah. And our point is, even if you hit delete on the document that said make them a last priority, if the actions of the Department of State still have them processed as an afterthought, still have them processing at a fraction of what they would be in pre-2020 years as compared to other immigrant visas, that's still illegal.
Yeah, they're saying they're telling that well, we don't have a central policy anymore of deprioritizing. We're letting the consulates make the call on that. But it's just as illegal if a consulate does this. And some of the consulates are saying on their websites that they are deprioritizing everybody but this category or that category. So it doesn't matter if a consulate's doing the policy illegally or Washington is. It's still just as illegal.
I did have someone reach out to me last week that had been a winner in DV 2020 and DV 2021 and DV 2022.
I want to take that guy to Las Vegas.
That guy is, I said, we need you as part of our case. Man, that's got to be the luckiest guy. He wasn't a plaintiff in any of the prior cases. He just kind of said, what do I do? I heard about you guys, and I'm tired of winning and not getting a visa. So I would never get tired of winning, but man, he's a lucky dude right there. That's kind of crazy. All right. I don't have any. Let's ask some questions here. So we've got Mr. Sadi from Algeria. Good to see you. That looks like a hostage picture right there. You need to get a smile going, my friend. He's on YouTube. That's one of our YouTube channel people. Usama Marouche, Morocco U.S. Embassy canceled January because of COVID. again, COVID comes back, right? But how bad is COVID? I mean, Africa was very lightly touched by COVID. Even the South Africa variety, Omicron, that was discovered in South Africa. It was bad, but it wasn't like, oh my God, the country's going to die, and it's over already. So it's unclear to me. They're closing consulates 3 years in. I mean, we're approaching 3 years, right? March is really 3 years, and they don't have things in place to protect themselves. I mean, we have kids in school all over America, and they're not putting up plexiglass. I mean, they're already sitting behind 3 inches of glass. Mm-hmm. What do they think's going on back there? Crazy. Masad says hello. Osama says, that's unbelievable. I agree. It is unbelievable. Rabak Shah, saw the email from Ramirez. Thank you. Other than filing dismissal, has anything else been done to prod the judge in action? Richard. Rabak Shah, one does not prod a federal judge. That's not how this whole thing works. But as I noted in our filing, I did indicate that our plaintiffs were patiently waiting for a decision. I even said a decision on the motion to dismiss.
That's a gentle prod.
That is about, I'm not going any proddier than that. I value my bar license and my future appearances in the court. That's about as proddy as we will get. And again, as Aaron noted, these judges, and they're all guys in these cases, they're all sitting on these January 6 cases, which are now coming to a head. And they've only done something like 79 of 600 cases so far. I thought there was a lot more because the press covers every single one of them. But there's a lot more to come. DataLex, any insight of timeline for premium processing for EAD? Greg, when's that happening?
Well, it's the way they're going to be doing it is they insist on having a final regulation out. The regulation has actually been submitted to the Office of Management and Budget. It was in December that happened. OMB hopefully is going to clear it in the next couple of weeks, and at that point, my guess is it'll be 30 to 60 days after that they could start. I think what they will do is they will get the regulation finalized, but that may not coincide exactly with the start date of it. They could delay it further than that, but they will have the capacity to do it. They do. I would expect probably EADs and I-539s are going to be the first two processes that they're going to do based on previous announcements. So I guess it's spring.
It's outrageous. At this point, it seems that they're holding people hostage, just literally not adjudicating them.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at our mail when it comes. I'm not being flooded with EADs or approval notices for 539s. I have one young woman, a friend of mine, who I filed her a change of status to F1 last January.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was working behind the scenes with a couple other lawyers and getting this healthcare EAD expedite policy that just came out. And even with that, we couldn't get them to do initial EADs, only extensions. We, only in the last 30 days. I mean, it's like all these, and even when they approve them, they're still not doing card production. It's just like, it's unbelievable to me how broken the agency is on even things that they conceivably want to do, like expedite doctors. I think a lot of people realize this is a bad look for them, but they can't even get that right even after they announce a policy. So it's
not a surprise to me, Greg. It's not a surprise to me. If one of the EAD class members receives their EAD prior to completion, well, actually, we only have 19 plaintiffs left. So I think over half of our plaintiffs have actually gotten their EADs. And you would think that if they really wanted to work this case, they would moot everybody.
Yeah.
But they're so incompetent, they can't even do that.
I know, that's the easiest way for them to make this lawsuit go away.
I mean, really.
But on the merits of it, where a case is mooted, but it's capable of repetition. Then the lawsuit can continue. So just because they moot out the case when we've structured it as a class action, it doesn't mean that the case is going away.
Yeah, and we can always get more plaintiffs if we need to. Mm-hmm. Go! I agree, Lika. Yes, you keep telling me the embassy's closed. We know. We know.
I think you could skip the repeat question.
H1B Lottery lawyers from IT Server talking about the case on Twitter. Would their intervention cause an impact on regulatory order for the lottery in March 2022? All the best, team. Well, obviously, we're seeking to stop the March lottery as it's currently run, allowing multiple applications. By the way, Aaron, we have some great evidence of the fraud that was committed, and not the least, literally an hour after we filed our brief, an organization who is not exactly known as friendly to immigrants published an article about an organization we were going to cite in our brief, but did not, how they had filed 1,600 lottery applicants or H1Bs, and they have 8 employees based out of an apartment in Chicago.
Right, they have a dream.
They have a dream. I got a dream. A dream. So and we have lots of evidence in our briefs that we've included. And I'm really interested to see the government's response to this. Maybe they'll tell the truth. Maybe they'll come out and tell us, because they refuse to tell us.
Look, I don't think IT served, those folks necessarily have a problem with the, with keeping the registry and fixing the fraud issues. I mean, I think a lot of those companies are legit, but on there, so it still puts some pressure potentially on the government to try and come up with some kind of solution.
Yeah, you and I have a different idea of what IT Server is doing here, but that's just me. I think they're protecting a very vested interest in a process that really assists people that have multiple small companies, as opposed to Amazon, which, while gigantic, is just Amazon. Yeah. So they get one filing for one of their people. So I mean, I think there's a real manipulation of the process here, and that's what that's really about. Ankit, yeah, we don't go on Twitter, and well, we do go on Twitter and we do put stuff out, but the reality is, we like to do our talking here. All right, Ankit, how much grateful for all the updates you guys are really dig? Okay, no updates. And Greg, as we talked last week, the reality is Congress isn't touching immigration right now for the foreseeable future. I mean, we might get a recapture bill, but that's not happening right now. They got way bigger issues to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, maybe Greg has a different opinion, and I'd defer to him. But to me, it's time to pivot pressure to the executive actions that are possible. And there is a lot that they could do to make things better in a lot of different areas. I'm kind of done with Congress at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of that way, but I do. Build Back Better is not dead on there as much as we think it is, especially because of the United Mine Workers, who have all of a sudden decided that this is an issue they want to take a strong position on, and that has put they have a lot more influence on Joe Manchin than Joe Biden does and Chuck Schumer does. And there's a front page story in today's New York Times about the United Mine Workers, and that it's kind of changed the equation on Build Back Better, because Manchin cannot ignore them. He can ignore everybody else, but he can't ignore them. And if that's, I think that he is going to come back to the table because of that change in the game. Question is what happens with immigration when he does come back. That's a different story, but I think that we will have some clarity in the next week or two, probably, on what's going to happen with Joe Manchin.
Do you have any positive results? What do you think was going to happen with the EAD suits for people who didn't join the lawsuit?
Sure. The question is, what if you missed the cutoff to join the lawsuit? Would positive results still help you? Yeah, it's a class action. So if we get a settlement or a decision saying they have to take a certain action, it's going to be for everybody in the same situation. So the people who are plaintiffs, they may benefit first, but we're trying to help everybody with this.
Yeah, we've discussed a lot of options as far as things that we could ask for in a settlement with the agency, and I'm not going to go into those here, but it's the options that we're discussing would benefit everybody.
I agree. By the way, status report is due today. Oh, so I guess I better turn my computer on at 11:58 Eastern time when they file that tonight. Any way to push embassies to work? Well, that's why we try to reserve visas. I mean, if right now mandamus is probably not viable for DV cases, so that means you're looking at reserving visas. DV-22 lawsuit will help those who live in country with embassies closed. Yes, and in fact, didn't the government just come out and tell people in Iraq and other countries to find a different consulate?
Afghanistan.
Yeah, Afghanistan. So, yes, it would help everybody. I like this question, Sandeep. The U.S. are on track to waste visas. I agree. They're going to do the same thing they did. So this is something we'll have to look at. I think we haven't really delved into the EB numbers because they haven't published any. There's no published data for fiscal year 2022 from USCIS on EB numbers. We don't have anything. So we can't determine how low their number. All we can determine from our own practices, I don't have a lot of EBs that are getting approved all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really had the strategy discussion yet. I mean, the other possibility we could look at is instead of necessarily filing everything in one case, we could look at doing some smaller cases in different jurisdictions. Which, the one that was successful was a individual, for 5 people in Mississippi, Barry Walker's case, and we could replicate that. He took all of our Barry. I mean, we gave him to on there, but he used our arguments successfully in that case. So it showed that the substance of what we were arguing was fine. It was just that jurisdictional question.
It's a terrible location. So we're not going to start that soon. We need data. So part of the problem is that we have no data, Sandeep. As soon as that data comes out from USCIS, they have historically been slow. They published fiscal year 2021 numbers on December 15th. So 60, 70 days after the end of the fiscal year, 75 days. So if that holds true, we should see some numbers in March, early March for first quarter. And then we can see where they are. Plus, we also reach out to our colleagues around the country and see what they're seeing on their own client base. But again, I'm not seeing a huge number of EB approvals. I'm just not. And certainly the consulates, I need to go through the states numbers here, on each class and see, because, unfortunately, they do these numbers by place of birth and post, but they don't have a grand total.
I think,
category.
It'll be interesting because Ryan in Aaron's office is actually interviewing Charlie Oppenheim on a podcast, who just recently retired. And Charlie had said not too long ago that he thought that the pace of usage of the visas for this fiscal year had improved, and that they might get all the numbers used up. So I'll be interested in hearing, especially now that he's out of the position, where he thinks things are, because if anybody kind of should know what's going on, it would be that guy.
So Dash, if you go back, just scroll back a little bit. We had a little topic. We talked about the EAD lawsuit earlier on in the podcast here. And Trey Yates, I don't know what new U.S. visa prioritization is. Oh, they just now made a U.S. visa prioritization. Great. That's probably illegal. I wish I could figure out, get access to that. If you want to put the link up, my friend, that would be great where you saw that. I have not gotten any notification of that. There's been nothing from Ayla. You guys know anything about that?
No, I'm looking.
I haven't seen it.
Because any prioritization, as Judge Maida said, is illegal.
No, they haven't posted anything on the news feed on travel.state.gov.
Yeah, I checked travel.state.gov. I got nothing. I just Googled visa prioritization, and I got nothing.
Now, they have some consulates have individually announced prioritization.
Yeah.
So maybe, Trey, you're looking at something that you saw.
Get us that, Trey, please.
I'd be interested.
Alex, we love making the videos. It's a good way to spend Tuesday morning. It's better than doing it late at night when we're really tired.
Yeah, Chuck, can you go back up to Sandeep's comments about the new employment-based litigation? I just wanted to point out that there's a Supreme Court case pending right now called Patel v. Garland. And it's not about this stuff, but it is about whether you can bring a legal challenge to a discretionary action. And some crazy courts around the country have this idea that because a 485, an adjustment of status application, is discretionary, that they can't touch anything about it. And that means that they're barred from considering anything about it, including the pace of processing. And we got some really weird decisions on that. And they're frankly already completely wrong. But it's possible that in the next month or two, we're going to get the decision from the Supreme Court, which I expect to be positive, and I expect to clarify that no, just because it's about a discretionary thing doesn't mean that there's not underlying legal issues, including the processing times that can be litigated. So I think that will help the next round of that litigation and other litigation on these issues.
Aaron, we actually have a lengthy update about the EAD earlier in the show today.
Right. So you can rewind,
get back up there. Again, if you want to be involved in the DV 2022 litigation, there's our link to sign up. We're going to do a separate YouTube live on Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook for everybody to take a look at, and we'll answer your questions there about that. All right, gentlemen, it's been great seeing you this week. I will see you in 3 weeks, but Greg and Aaron will have their smiling faces next Tuesday and taken care of.
Sure will.
All right.
Bye all.
Thank you.